Good evening. Yeah, baby. That guy rocked. Should try to get him on the show. No pizza party. I had looked up the top 10 pizza places in the Sacramento area, and the top one it's called something like Chicago Pizza and Curry. So it's like you get your pizza, you get a little curry, and I've been thinking about that all day. Like you get some pizza going, and then you dip the crust in curry. I think that's probably what I would do. Um, and yeah, they were on the precipice, and they had a random comeback. I say random because it was in the fourth quarter via that's not the right game, via Boucher, Pirtle, Quickly, Schroeder, and Siakam. Very random lineup. Two point guards, two centers, and Siakam. Barnes ended up subbing in for Boucher, but then Pirtle fouled out, and then Boucher came in for Pirtle. So kind of the same idea there at the end. And that randomly made their defense a lot better for some reason. That unit played really good defense, and then made a bunch of clutch buckets on the stretch. I thought Quickly was a little bit cringe at the end on the stretch. He had a couple kind of not very great shots in very important moments. It was kind of a bit awkward. But yeah, no pizza party. And yeah, I mean it's not like I guess it's not a super depressing loss, but at the same time it was kind of felt like the game was like 13, 14 points away from and then they cut it down to like 10, and then they kept cutting it down, and then yeah, it ends up being a 5 point game, 135, 130, and they were they were very close to getting the pizza party. I think pretty poor execution down the stretch, or not down the stretch, but at the very end by the Raptors. Like the last minute there was pretty ugly, which is unfortunate because the previous, like, I don't know, 5-6 minutes had been really good. Um, Jontay Porter gave some good minutes. I thought that he played really scared in the first half. Like I've seen him on the 905, and he's getting into his stuff. And in the first half of this game, he was just like avoiding and wasn't being assertive. And then in the second half, it was like the complete opposite. And I think he had like 10 or 11 points or something. And like to his credit, the threes that he misses, they seem to like rattle in and out. And he made a couple. So the three ball looks good for him, and it's kind of exactly what they needed. I was kind of surprised they didn't see him more in this game, but Boucher played really well. And then Jakob was somehow effective. I don't really understand how or why, but he was down the stretch. Not a great shooting performance from him. A lot of missed shots. He was a little bit. I think he was shooting a little bit more, 1 foot away from. Once he gets like a foot away from the rim, it's problems. But I think there was a little bit more of that tonight. But he ends up closing the game, which is when do you ever see that? So that's a new one. But yeah, that lineup it was really random because he had Dennis and Quickly and Boucher and Pirtle. And Siakam obviously makes sense, but like those four, and you saw Quickly and Schroeder be like the guys down the stretch. They didn't go to RJ Barrett at all. I don't think he even played in the fourth quarter. It was kind of surprising. But they completely went away from that. And I mean, I thought Dennis played well. He just functioned so much better off the bench and playing with bench units. I mean, it took Darko like 30 games to figure that out, even though he coached Dennis before when he was off the bench. But yeah, he just performs, just seems to fit so much better. And I thought that you missed Gary in this game. Not like that you live and die by Gary Trent Jr., but he is one of those guys that can kind of get hot randomly, and felt like in this game before that really random lineup came out in the fourth that went on a 14-6 run. It just felt like they couldn't like get over the hump, and then somehow Schroeder, Quickly, Siakam, Pirtle, Boucher. It's like I don't know if they. I don't. Well, Quickly's new, so no. That lineup has. I don't think has ever played basketball together before. So that's kind of exciting, I guess, if you're the coaching staff. I mean, the Kings are a good team as well, and they got the Keegan Murray chant going. They got the yeah baby guy. I don't know. See there, like, I guess I haven't watched that many Kings games. I used to be kind of a Kings fan, low key Kings fan, being on the West Coast. But I can't really claim that anymore. But way back in the day, I was. Maybe we can talk about that later. But I like low key root for them in the West. So, Harrison Barnes with the goatee. You don't see too many goatees nowadays, but it's kind of always been his thing. Has like a Tarantino kind of vibe, just this scowl and the goatee. Just like you could be he could be a movie star maybe after the NBA's over. So in the first quarter, Jakob was just missing a lot of bunnies. He had a couple turnovers. Quickly tried to get him involved a couple times. And it's similar to when Scotty tries to get him involved, like kind of first coming out of the gate in the games, and it seems to either kind of like slip through his hands, or he'll take a shot that doesn't have a lot of strength behind it and gets blocked, or it's just kind of aesthetically unpleasing. And RJ was really trying to get involved with him too, and was a little bit more successful. I thought RJ made some really good passes in the first half, and he had only two Raptors had more than 10 points at the half. It was Schroeder had 11 and RJ had 11 at the half. Still kind of weird how RJ didn't come in at the end, but I mean, I guess you were kind of cooking with those random lineups. So again, props to Darko for not reverting back to some TV dinner prepackaged thing. So it's a good development. Sabonis was really effective in this game. He's kind of the opposite of the rest of because the Kings, they just feast on threes, like third in the NBA in 3-point attempts. And so much of their offense, and you saw that tonight, it's just like based on hitting threes. And then he's kind of the opposite. Like he's the guy at the elbow, he's down low. So he really balances out the team for them. And he was really aggressive tonight. Did he get? I think he got. I'll check the box score in a sec, but I think he either got a triple double or almost got a triple double. It's just one of those nights. And I thought in the first half he was just really bullying everybody, like Jakob, Jontay Porter, Boucher. He was just putting his shoulder into people and going up. He looks really strong. So kind of hard to guard. I think he's got a lot of. He's kind of fun to watch because he's got a lot of like drop step and post moves that you don't really like, back to the basket stuff that just, if you watch basketball in the 90s and the 2000s, like you don't really see that. And not that that's like the most aesthetically pleasing way to play, but it is kind of cool because to see once in a while. It's cool to see once in a while, there's only a few kind of bigs in the NBA these days who kind of play like that. So, once in a while it's fun. De'Aaron Fox, he's probably has like the quickest first step, or one of the quickest first steps in the NBA for sure. Like he can just get downhill so easily, beats the guy on the perimeter, and then he feels like it's weird. Most players have to finesse like the second or even third line. I guess not third line, but second or third line of defense, whereas he's just able to beat. It's almost like he beats the help as well. Like he beats his guy on the perimeter, and then the help slides over, and he's already like at the rim. He's just so quick. He's so fast. And yeah, it just felt like whenever they needed something at Saskatoon, Trey Lyles going 4 for 5 from 3 before falling on De'Aaron Fox's sweat kind of spot. And that was kind of there was some interesting stuff happening there with, I think Quickly was getting into it with, I wrote this down. So potential Raptor Room episode where Quickly was getting into it with Fox, and then Darko was kind of yelling at Quickly to, get back in the play or whatever. But then Dennis was yelling at Fox from the bench, and Fox was pissed because he slipped on Lyles's, or Lyles slipped on his spot. And I think Fox thought he got fouled by Boucher on that play, and like maybe he did. Kind of looked like he might have. So that was a bit of some beef. Definitely some beef there. That was in the third quarter. But yeah, Darko had kind of a rough, I thought, first half because McDaniels played a like putrid first quarter. It was it was rough. Like I just have McDaniels rough, Porter rough, Kings 11-3 run. Again, Porter played a lot better in the second half. Kind of totally played a different way in the second half. But yeah, McDaniels, he plays this like really uninspiring first quarter, and then Darko comes into the second quarter with McDaniels on the floor. Just didn't really understand that. He's just had that one really random outlier game against Boston that I made a little highlight reel of 10 minutes before OG got traded. So I think I got lost in my plantar fasciitis sock. Just came loose. I'm hearing like I'm like in Russia or something. It's snowing here, I think. But yeah, so, and it was weird because in the second quarter there, they kind of went away from Siakam for a long time, and it was this McDaniels lineup that was just doing nothing, and that's when the Kings were up by, I don't know the most they were up. I don't know if they ever went up by 30, but they were up by 20, 22, 23 for a long time, and it didn't look like much was going to happen. But then I thought Dennis came in. Dennis was like really good. He got to the rim a bunch, just doing kind of high IQ stuff. Speaking of IQ, quickly didn't start the game well and didn't really finish the game that well at the end. But you know, throughout the fourth quarter, he was a big part of the comeback. Really not a fan of those threes that players kind of take at the end, where it looks like they're trying to draw contact and they kind of like hang in the air and shoot it awkwardly. Those rarely ever seem to go in. So that, yeah, but we can get to the late fourth quarter execution in a sec. But yeah, and then I thought it was funny, you know, Alvin was talking about how the Yeah Baby guy was in his head as a broadcaster. That was probably my favorite moment from the game. I didn't watch the pregame show. If anybody, I'll check the chats in a sec. Anybody tell me what happened in the pregame show? I've kind of stopped tuning into those because I was just complaining about them too much, so I don't watch the pregame shows. But yeah, you know, Fox getting to the rim really easily, and then yeah, again, like RJ and Dennis, the only guys coming into the half with over 10 points. So just, I mean, slow start from Scotty, slow start from Pascal. The Kings reportedly pulled out of the Siakam. They're out of the Siakam sweepstakes. You know, like we saw that with the Clippers. They pulled out of James Harden, and then I don't know, 6 hours later, it's like James Harden is going to the Clippers. So that's just bullshit. Or it's just like leverage or the game. It's just part of the. I wouldn't take any of that seriously. But yeah, in terms of the first half, it didn't feel like much was happening for the Raptors. Like it was a really bad first half in relation to kind of how it turned out. And I guess if I'm on the West Coast, people are on the East Coast, it's probably late. It's even late for me. Like 9:00 or 9:50 is kind of crazy. But yeah, so then 7:40. So getting into the third quarter, 7:41. Jakob just randomly falls over, and it kind of goes back to my yoga theory about how like a yoga mat could probably like really change his life. And Sabonis just eating, you know, in transition and at the elbow. And I thought that Jakob quickly had some good chemistry, and then Scotty started scoring in the third quarter. I thought he was going to kind of take over the game. Didn't quite happen, but it's almost like he didn't really need to. And then there was just like much better ball movement in the third quarter. I don't really know why, but they just seemed to like change their passing philosophy. And I thought Schroeder was like a really good, you know, stabilizing factor. And then, yeah, Darko yelling it quickly, which was kind of interesting. Or not yelling it quickly, but he was like, you know, telling him to get back. And then I was kind of surprised that they went away from Jontay Porter, but Boucher played really well in this game. And he had quickly breaking Herter's ankles, but then he missed the three, so it kind of ruins the highlight. Boucher ended up getting the rebound and getting a couple free throws, but just kind of like it does kind of takes a bit of the juice out of the highlight. And then, down the stretch, Boucher had a huge block. Scotty had a huge block. Scotty had a huge block on Sabonis. And then 10 seconds later, Sabonis turned it over. So that was felt like that was a pretty momentum shifting sequence. And then down the stretch, Boucher misses a free throw. And quickly with a couple, not, I guess, incredible. I mean, the first three was the more egregious one. The second one, it's like, as long as you kind of get a three up at that point, and he had somewhat of a look at it. But that other one, either the possession or two possessions before, where he kind of like jumped and then midair, kind of looking for contact too, like midair decided to shoot it, and that's just it's just an awkward. Like, you can practice that as much, or I mean, you can practice that, but you're not going to practice that as much as your like normal shooting motion. So it just didn't seem like maybe the absolute best thing to do at that moment. I know he is kind of new to closing games. Like, he wasn't a starter in New York, and I think like him and Brunson played like 11 minutes together all season, and I know Brunson's closing the game, so just kind of based off of that, I know that he's not really closing games, so that's also going to be kind of a new thing for him. But yeah, I was surprised that RJ Barrett wasn't inserted at in the second half. But I guess the kind of the bright side is the Jontay Porter thing. I mean, he's not Jokic or anything, but not that Precious was really cutting it as a backup center, but you ship Precious out, and you've got McDaniels getting minutes at center, dusting off Thad and putting him in at center, and so you really need that archetype, like a guy that can come in, give you 10 points, 12 points or whatever off the bench, like a big, doesn't have to blow you out of the water. But I think I've watched 4 or 5 of his games in the 905. First half tonight, he was pretty rough, and it wasn't like he was getting bullied by Sabonis like in the paint, but like on offense, it's not like he was like making mistakes. He just wasn't doing, like, he wasn't taking his opportunities. He was playing kind of like Malachi, just like, I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to stand out. I don't want to. And then in the second half, I thought that he. This thing will be over in a sec. The thing behind me, but in the let's check the good time to check the box score. Not a sponsor of this thing. I've turned off all my YouTube ads on the YouTube channel. So if you see any ads, it's not because I'm running them. There we go. Okay, but yeah, Jontay Porter. I'm also putting out an OG Anunoby supercut. So that's going to come out this weekend, about 35 minutes long, just like all his Raptor moments. Gonna have I photoshopped like a yellow headband for him in the thumbnail, and just getting all the timestamps ready for that. So look out for that. But yeah, Jontay Porter in this one, 10 points in 13 minutes, and was 2 for 3 from 3, and the one that missed, it just like again rattled out, and he had another one of those in the last game. So his misses are not, it's like when Precious would miss, it would be like, and I think it's important. I mean, see what the basketball Maven has to say, but I think it's a big difference when like 2 of your threes, rattle in and out versus like hitting the bottom corner of the backboard, and then lo and behold, he hits 2 threes, and he's got a really smooth stroke. Like, he's obviously Michael Porter Jr.'s brother, so same kind of genetics, like really long arms, really tall. And yeah, he has a really aesthetically pleasing game. And I thought in the 905, like, he just cooked in the 905. The first game I watched him was his first game, like his debut. By the way, the 905 game the other day was not streaming on YouTube for the first time, and it happened to coincide with the Rogers power outage or internet outage. So just wondering if those two are related. I have my conspiracies if Ed Rogers unplugged the internet or something, but yeah, no, so when he was playing kind of scared in the first half, like kind of in that Malachi evil Dante mindset, it's kind of like, as someone, not that I'm like a Jontay Porter nerd, but like I've watched enough of him to know what his potential is, and you really saw that in the second half where he was like taking his opportunities, taking shots, not being afraid, and he looked really good. And even when he's playing like quote unquote scared, it's not like he's playing bad. He's always in the right position. He did have one turnover today, but I think it was his only turnover. It was the first time he got the ball, like the first second. Yeah, only one turnover, and it was like he got the ball, he passed it, and he just got caught. And I was like, damn, it's a rough. You never want to start. I mean, it happens to everybody, but it's just a rough way to start. You check into a game, and you're just not like, everybody else has been running around. They're all warmed up. You come in, you're like ice cold, and you just throw that pass that gets picked, and it's just like the worst feeling. But he really picked it up, and 10 points in 13 minutes. Like that's like, if that can be a consistent thing, like that's going to be incredibly useful. Like, also 3 rebounds in that time too. So he's kind of exactly, he's almost like what you'd hope. I mean, it's still early, but that's kind of the archetype of what you'd hope like a Precious would be, like a less athletic Precious, but like a big guy that can shoot threes, that can defend. I guess maybe not defend, but just that kind of like that 5 that spaces the floor. That's probably not going to be an all-star, but is very useful. And Precious just was not doing that, and obviously him leaving opens up this spot for Jontay Porter. I think if Precious isn't in that trade, he's probably still getting looks. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of the perfect situation for him. And Blake Murphy, enemy of the show, he wrote like a pretty in-depth piece on the guy, and he's come through a lot of knee injuries, and his knees were felt like they were breaking or something when he was playing. So yeah, he's part of the Michael Porter Jr. family. I know their dad was very anti-vax, and I thought it was weird that they lived in Missouri. If you're going to be I don't know, aren't you usually going to be more into water purity and the air quality and just the chakra shit? Missouri's a bit Missouri's kind of tough, I think. So just Vermont I could see, Wyoming I could see, Arizona I can see, Montana, but Missouri, it's just I don't know, it doesn't seem like a great fit. But what are people saying? What did you guys think of the game here? Did you guys? I actually made some pizza. I had some. Before the game, I made a pizza. I kept a slice. I'm really hungry right now, actually, but I kept a slice just in case they won, and then I was gonna eat the slice of pizza on the show tonight and do Raptors tonight, where I'm eating and talking at the same time. So I have a piece of pizza waiting for me in the fridge. It's a tomato pesto. It's very nice. It's a thin crust. But no pizza for the Raptors tonight. Again, if you missed it off the top, I looked up the top 10 pizza places in Sacramento, and the top one was it was called Chicago Pizza and Curry. Had 4.8 stars with a bunch of reviews. And now I've just been thinking about having a pizza and then dipping the crust in curry, and that would be sweet. I've been thinking about that all day. So they were robbed of that though. And Crank says people saying Pirtle has terrible defense. I thought he was all right. I mean, I think with Pirtle, it's just the bar is higher than that, based off of what they gave him, what they gave up for him, and obviously what they paid him, and the whole context of the situation. He's kind of expected, and I did think he kind of got bullied a lot by Sabonis, and that's, again, that kind of just comes back to that kind of flexibility and strength. By the way, maybe someone can clarify this for me on the broadcast. I thought they were saying Jakob had only played 20 minutes 4 times this season, but that can't be right. They had to be talking about Boucher, and maybe I just like misheard it. Um, but then I thought of all the times that he's been like benched in the second half, and then I was like, maybe that is can someone clarify that for me? Because I don't really want to look it up. Jimmy Pope says really need a backup big. Pascal trade for 5 large pieces. They gave the last shot to Gary Trent Jr. when they first got him a couple years ago. Similar vibes. Hard to cover for RJ's defense. RJ getting his busted backdoor on D. Yeah, I mean that's obviously the downside of the OG trade. I think Quickly's a better defender. Like his on-ball defense is pretty good. I didn't really notice RJ too much, but I would get benched for being bad at defense sometimes. So maybe sometimes I don't see all the defensive stuff. But second watch, I'll notice it. But yeah, maybe that kind of explains why RJ didn't see the court really. And honestly, it's I think a big reason why the Quickly, Schroeder, Pirtle, Siakam, Boucher lineup, like it's such a random lineup that was the comeback. Like they were on a 14-6 run in the fourth quarter. And a big reason why they were doing that was their defense just like locked in was so much better than it was before. Because like it's not like that offensive crew was, lighting things on fire. They're doing a lot better, but their defense just got to a whole other level when, as you can point out, RJ Barrett wasn't on the floor. Jontay Porter wasn't on the floor. But yeah, so you got, kind of a quiet night from Siakam, 18 points. Scotty, 20 points. I feel like 20 points for Scotty is like for this season is a bit quiet. Like it's not anything you complain about, but it wasn't what you'd call like a hot game for him. 8 for 15. Hit the 3 ball well though, 4 for 8 from 3. So I know Alvin said that he doesn't want Scotty to fall in love with the 3 ball, but I kind of do. I think the conversation on Alvin's getting a little bit louder this year. Yeah, I think it's he's been with sports now for like 9 years, I think. But yeah, I've noticed that the Alvin conversation, just the volume on that is being it's being turned up a little bit, I think, this year. Man, Reggie Miller had a tough night last night. I don't know if anybody watched that. He's still so committed to saying Wembanyama and with like a hard N on that, and then other times just being like Wembanyama Victor. Like he doesn't know. Like it's yeah, he's so bad that it's enjoyable. Like Reggie Miller, he has to be. Him and Spiro, oh my God, Spiro Ditas. I literally cannot. There's a Seinfeld episode where Kramer has like a seizure to Mary Hart's voice, and it's like the frequency of the voice, and that's like me with Spiro Ditas. I sometimes I do impressions of him just randomly walking around my house, but yeah, I don't know why I'm talking about that, but yeah, so looking at the plus minus, this is a really weird plus minus game because it coincides with these lineups, and what's kind of strange and something that I will need to kind of watch this again is like Scotty got killed in plus minus. Scotty was the team worst minus 23 tonight, and that doesn't really pass the eye test. But like he wasn't on the floor for the comeback. He was at the tail end of it, but he wasn't on for that kind of longer stretch in the fourth. Like he was kind of notably on the bench. So minus 23 for Scotty is weird, and then yeah, minus 19 for Barrett, and then a plus 12 for Jakob, plus 5 for Siakam, plus 12 for Schroeder, and a plus 1 for Boucher. So yeah, that lineup was just so like electric, which is again just so random. But I mean, you got to give credit to Darko for not only rolling it out there, but rolling with it like the whole time. He kept Scotty on the bench for like a long part of the fourth quarter, and part of me, like half of me was like, what's going on? Why isn't he in the game? But then there part of me is like, they're every 30 seconds they're like cutting into the point lead by like one, and it's just like it was kind of, yeah, it was kind of strange to see. And it's not like the play dipped after Scotty came back in, I don't think. But yeah, it was just kind of strange. And then yeah, Barrett with the minus 19 is kind of tough. No turnovers, which is nice. Only took 8 shots in 27 minutes, so he either wasn't aggressive. Quickly inefficient night, 6 for 17. He did have 8 assists, which is nice, and 5 rebounds. So it's almost like, but yeah, I thought in the fourth quarter he was good until the last minute. It was a little bit cringe. Maybe you want Scotty and Pascal with a couple of looks, but neither of them were. I mean, they combined for 38 points, so it's not like either of them were absolutely cooking. So it was a weird game. Like, it was entertaining, but just kind of a weird, like, strange game. You got the yeah baby guy every 4 seconds, which was great. I think if he would have done it a lot less, it would have been annoying, but he just did it so much that it just became funny, in my opinion. Like, just how committed he was to it. It's just like, the Raptors are challenging the call on the floor. Yeah, baby. Darko is drinking a bottle of water. Did you guys notice did people notice the Dennis and Fox, and then Quickly and Fox, and then Darko and Quickly? Did anybody else pick up on that? If not, I'll consider that a rare moment and be more likely to, do a potential episode on it. Someone says Darko's plan to lose because of the pizza party. I don't know if the players know that the pizza party is a joke, because like Dennis will go on the Raptors show and will mention the pizza party. I know Will's mentioning it as a joke, but I don't think Dennis like quite gets why it's a joke, or like gets the joke. But it's becoming my favorite thing of this season, probably more than the lawsuit. It's just, I knew right when it happened that it's one of those, it's a bit that's only going to get funnier the longer it goes on, because the bar is so low. Like, 3 wins in the NBA is absolutely nothing. Like, if your team goes on a 3-game win streak, like, it's not, that should not be, big news or anything. So it had the potential to be really funny, and it is. And I think it was also, I thought I saw a quote today that like read into that it was maybe a little bit of the Pascal Darko friction that I think has been quite, kind of apparent since day one, because it was Pascal that kind of like came out and said something, and then Darko came out and said something, and then Pascal kind of, but yeah, either way, it's just, I don't know. It's just really funny, I think. TZ says Alvin pressing the Randy dude was an all-time moment. Yeah, I know. I need to make that video. I'm like, I work on like 6 videos at a time, and then 2 of them I just like don't end up making. But hopefully I end up making that one, because yeah, it is definitely. What's this person just standing behind me? It's creeping me out. Like, what are you doing? This person behind me. Are they in a t-shirt? Also, it's like snowing out here. They're really frightening me. But it's someone like, it's like a horror movie, like a little girl in a horror movie or something. Shit. Yeah. So yeah, but I lost my train of thought. Chris Willis says if Pirtle hits his bunnies tonight, the game is different. 7 for 10. So I mean, not horrible. I thought this was one of his better games, but maybe it was the Pirtle stat, because Pirtle only played 23 minutes tonight. It was the stat Devlin was talking about, because I thought it was Jakob, where he said he's only played over 20 minutes 4 times this season, which just seems crazy. But it's almost like they use him at the beginning like a normal player, and then in the second, like starting around like halfway through the second quarter, he just kind of becomes like like a special, what is it in football, like a special teams guy. We're just like, oh, we're just gonna put you in for like 30 seconds, or like if we need to get a rebound on a free throw, we'll throw you in there for, you know, a breath or two. Why is it, they're still just standing there? Are they? Oh my god, that's so creepy. Um, Maybe they need something. Maybe they're in trouble. I don't know, but it's scaring me. Uh, Three Design says Alvin's awkward period. I feel like, yeah, I feel like he should like lean into it more. Like I actually liked it today when he's like, yeah, this yeah baby guy is really getting in my head. Like that was funny. I feel like he tries to kind of cover it up sometimes instead of just being like, yeah, I'm fucking awkward as shit, and it's part of the bit. But he always kind of gets flustered and then tries to overcorrect, and that's when the metaphors start to get fused in with other metaphors, and it just kind of goes off the rails a little bit. But yeah, the conversation around that is just getting a little bit louder. They need to have a party at Chuck E. Cheese, says somebody. Teasy says, do you like Dennis and IQ on the court together? I mean, probably not as the main look, but I do like the I do like being able to throw that as a weapon, and you couldn't do that in the past. Like, what could you do in the past? We're gonna throw Malachi and Dennis out there. It's like, it's not doing much, but yeah, because Dennis is really good at getting at the rim, and then quickly is like not that great at getting to the rim, but he's a good 3-point shooter. So that's kind of a good match just within that in itself. But then the fact that they're both point guards, I thought they figured it out more today too. Cause like last game, I had wrote down that at the end of the game in the Grizzly game, they were both kind of like, I want the ball. No, I want the ball. You want the ball? Okay. Like I'll go over here. Then they had a little bit of that energy, but I thought tonight they didn't. And it was just more of like a democratic type of thing. But yeah, I think I like it. You know, it's something, it's definitely a different look you can throw. And, you know, with the team like the Kings, like, you know, they have tons of guard play. So it's not like you know, you need a ton of size out there to, you know, the Kings are predominantly, you know, 3-point shooting team with Sabonis as the hub at the elbow. So, you know, kind of, not a ton of, I mean, unless it's Sabonis backing people down, they do a lot of their work on the perimeter. So I think, yeah, it makes sense to have, and both of those guys are good point of attack defenders. So when you've got a lot of guards, you shoot a lot of threes. I mean, the Kings, I mean, they were hitting like everything. How many threes did the Kings hit tonight? Kings were, oh my God. Okay, that's got to be like, that has to be the best three-pointing. The Kings must have had the best 3-point shooting game of this season. Maybe someone can look at, like, for the volume that they shot it at. They were 21 for 38, 55% from three on 38 attempts. This is insane. That's nutty. 55% on 38 attempts. Yeah, that's not going to happen that often. So, yeah, they had, you know, the Raptors, like they weren't bad for three, 13 for 37, you know, 35%. So a 20% difference in 3-point percentage. But, you know, in a 5-point game, that's going to be important. But again, the Kings, that's where the Kings do a ton of their damage. You know, outside of Sabonis, they don't have, you know, they got Harrison Barnes, JaVale McGee, and then, you know, they're not, you know, the aura is not, you know, super crazy with that. Harrison Barnes, 16 points. But it's, you know, Keegan Murray, he's more of an outside threat anyways as a 4, I guess, but he's kind of an interesting 4. Like he doesn't play like, he's definitely like a modern 4. He's not doing a ton around the rim. Kind of plays like a guard. So, I mean, yeah, you can see why the Kings are not really, I mean, if I was the Kings, I don't know, like it's, a lot of these guys are still young, and I mean, they look good in the playoffs last year. I mean, I guess they're not doing as well this year. I think a few of their players, like Herter, really hasn't panned out. He's had a really down year, and they got Duarte, which is kind of random, but bench wise, you've got Malik Monk and Trey Lyles coming off the bench, so kind of continues with that three point shooting thing, and that's why I guess in a way like the Siakam thing doesn't make the most sense to me for them, just because they're so heavy and built on the three ball, and he's shooting better from three, but unless they want to balance that out more, which I don't know. I mean, obviously, I mean, you could see Lauri Markkanen on this team. That seems, I mean, obviously, I think most teams would take Lauri Markkanen, but I mean, I think that type makes a lot more sense. And maybe they would trade a Keegan Murray for a Lauri Markkanen, just, hypothetically saying it's probably a little bit more likely. But yeah, I think that archetype kind of fits, because we've seen Sabonis with Miles Turner, and that Miles Turner's like 3-point shooting's I guess gotten a little bit better, but it's not super spacey, and those two kind of lived in hell together, because Sabonis isn't spacing. I mean, people play drop. I mean, he's on the playoffs, people just playing drop on Sabonis at like 16 feet, so but yeah, Sabonis is like really effective in other ways too. I mean, tonight 24 points, 15 rebounds, 11 assists, 11 for 16 from the field. Like, so yeah, did get the triple dub. And yeah, he's a fun player to watch. Like, in my opinion, he's not like the Instagram, TikTok highlight reel. Like, if you're making a Sabonis. What song would I use for a Sabonis mixtape? Probably. I don't even know. Something like sluggy-ish. Maybe like some reggae kind of dub stuff. Could be like King Tubby. That'd be good. Sabonis. Peter Tosh. But I like watching players like that. It's not like what I would want my main diet to be. I don't know if I'd want like 3 guys on every team doing that, but it's just kind of a throwback. You just rarely see people doing back to the basket stuff. It's stuff that I like to practice as like a 5'9", smaller person. I just I don't know. I think it's a underrated kind of I think it's become underutilized and underrated, just having just a basic like drop step, and you just don't really even like, does anybody on the Raptors have like a devastating drop step? Do they? Now I'm trying to think about it. You just don't really see that stuff anymore. Everybody's trying to face up. But it's cool, it's cool to see once in a while. Vegan Grass, you missed Grange and Savannah's top tier broadcasting together. Super cringe, Vegan Grass says. Top tier, sorry. Vegan Grass, you missed Grange and Savannah's top tier broadcasting together. Top tier cringe. Yeah, Savannah Hamilton's mom still following Raptor Moments on Twitter. So, which is funny because, again, I've inferred in an episode that she was Jeffrey Dahmer. I've called her like a session drummer of talking, because it's just, everything's just like right on the beat. Like every syllable is hit on the beat. But yeah, cool. Pre-game show. I need somebody to just like watch the pre-game show for me. Synthesize it. A little Michael Grange report. I was talking with Masai and Bobby, and they were talking about a couple things, and they got Brad Fay. Sure, I feel like Sherm could cook if you just take, because actually he low-key is kind of the hidden star of the awkward Alvin Randy Urban video. Like, he's kind of the, as Will would say, like the Gerald Henderson Award winner of that one, because he's egging Alvin on to be a dick, but he's doing it in like a funny way where you can tell he's enjoying it. Like, he would probably enjoy the Raptor Moments episode just kind of based off of that, because I think he was like, give it to him, but like in a sarcastic kind of funny way. So I feel like Sherman Hamilton could cook if you took him out of that environment and put him with like Sam Mitchell, gave him some beers, maybe some edibles, just like let them cook. I feel like they could. Grange, I'm not quite sure. But I feel like with like the Granges and Doug Smiths, they're just kind of like embedded in the thing, you know. Which that takes talent, like, or not talent, but that takes like, I guess talent, like that. But I mean, like it takes effort, more effort, I guess, to do that. Like you really, I think, have to grind like over time to get to that level, and it's like a persistence thing. It's kind of like Woj and Shams. Like neither of them are particularly, you know, illuminating, but they just work really hard at that thing, and it gets them there. So, yeah, I've put some, I've ran some Doug Smith articles through Grammarly, just from my own curiosity, and yeah, it's not great. There's definitely people in the subreddit who have objectively better writing. So, by the way, you know, for people who are in the stream, was it last game with the CH? CH dropped a comment on a video that just, I don't know. I might be back on the CH train, to be honest, because I thought they were really boring and dull, and they gave a very unhinged comment on a video that I didn't. Maybe I'll read it after, but I couldn't even make sense of it. But yeah, CH back to being, I mean, not back, but like low key might be like insane. So I'm back in, because the problem was the boring, and so I might be back in on CH. I might have spoken too quickly on CH. Justin Doyle says, yeah, baby guy held it down for real. Gotta find out if he's like a regular at the stadium, because I feel like that would be a thing, because even Alvin, who kind of stays to the script. Alvin did have that one moment where I put in an episode, I can't remember what episode it was, where he's like, yeah, my one hand is doing that, but my other hand, we don't know what's happening there, or something like that. And Devlin's like, what? And then they were laughing really awkwardly for like 40 seconds, and then there was silence. Merlot, I may have said that wrong. It's a cool name. Darko switched it up. Why not set up a play for your best player? I was talking about at the end, I guess. I mean, yeah, the late game execution wasn't, I don't think was ideal. It's definitely not. I don't think that was a high percentage way to close out the game. And it's unfortunate, because the previous kind of like 4 or 5 minutes seemed like just a lot more smarter, just like a lot better plays happening, more like, you know, high ROI stuff. And I just, again, I hate those threes where you jump and then you make like, and then you shoot it, and you're just kind of looking for something. But a lot of yeah babies in the chat. Yeah, baby. Someone says quickly is legit, no worries, growing pains here. Yeah, and it's like, you'd rather him be aggressive than, you know, fade. And what I like about him is, like, even when he's missing, it doesn't like change his approach. I mean, obviously there's like a line, you don't want to just start chucking, but at the same time, shooting can be up and down like that. And I think he obviously has the confidence to just kind of like push through it and keep going. And, you know, maybe in that last minute there, it was a bit detrimental, but I think in the big picture, kind of looking at it, you know, zooming out, you want that quality in a player, especially a point guard who's going to, you know, be in charge of, you know, the energy, bringing the ball up, setting the table. Like it's important to have them be like, that was kind of, again, not to, but it's such a good example. That's really the problem with like a Malachi, is he just like doesn't, if he misses a couple shots, like he's kind of shutting it, he's just kind of shutting it down, like he's packing it in. And when you do that, other teams feel that, other teams read that, your defender feels that, and then they're going like, okay, I don't really have to worry about you as much anymore, so now I can go worry about Scotty, or I can go worry about Pascal, or I can go worry about whoever. And even though Quickly's having an off shooting night, he still has the numbers to be in the scouting report enough that teams aren't just going to let him go. So, yeah, I like the overall approach, but I do kind of agree that at the end of this game, I think that you do want the ball with Scotty and Pascal a little bit more than happened. But yeah, it's, it's a new team. It's and it's not only like, I don't think people realize this, or shouldn't say that, but I'm sure some people don't realize this. Going from playing backup point guard to lead point guard is like a huge, I went through that personally in my, high school, not to go Uncle Rico, but my high school tenure. It's just, it is a very different like mindset and approach. And, I guess just from personal experience, maybe it's the same for every position, but I feel like for point guard, like you really are the director. Like you're the one, putting, setting the table, putting the pieces. And he's really good at communicating, which, again, to kind of go back to Malachi is the perfect example, just was not really able to ever do that. But yeah, with Quickly, it's like you're not only learning a new team and a new system, you're learning a new role. It's the same position, but it's much different. Like you're going to get more shots, you're going to get more opportunities. And I think it's kind of easy to maybe start. And I think that even happened with Dennis too. Like it's human nature where like Dennis is playing a lot better now off the bench than he did starting. And I think when he was starting, there was a lot more, it just felt a lot more forced at times. And it's almost because it's like when you are the starting point guard, I think there is that kind of responsibility that you put on yourself of like, okay, I need to have X amount of production or have X amount of impact. And then coming off the bench, it's just a totally different vibe. And you can see with Dennis that he's much better, coming off the bench. And I think with Quickly, if he didn't have the starters, like I think he averaged 23, 24 points a game starting in New York. And I think if he didn't have those types of starting numbers, he's not going to be as much as a valuable, asset in a trade. But because he was able to show that, he does have more value than, and that's why there's that perceived upside, because in theory, you would hope that, starting 23 games would translate over into starting, maybe not 82 games, but 70 games or whatever. So, yeah, a bit of growing pains. Kind of, I guess weird, and maybe the defense was worse than I had noticed. But yeah, RJ kind of getting lost there in the rotation at the end, or kind of in the second half. I mean, he still played 27 minutes. But yeah, it's funny, the McDaniels Porter thing, because I mean, they're so opposite. Like I feel like McDaniels is a more kind of like, I don't know, he's hard to describe. Like he's kind of like a less talented Boucher, with kind of like the same, will kind of make the same mistakes, but like doesn't have as much, at least not yet, like doesn't have as much, but he's kind of that similar type player. And then Jontay Porter is, and this is totally like, I'm not comparing the two, I'm just talking about, I don't really ever like comparing players, by the way. I don't know if you've noticed that. I don't really ever do that, but I'm just talking like archetype wise. More of the kind of Marc Gasol type center, where he's a really good passer and he's going to shoot above the break threes. So complete opposite. Whereas McDaniels is more like get downhill, can handle it decently. But then, the decision making, which is the same as Chris, like Chris in transition, in the past, there's been kind of a lot of problems where you feed him when he's too far out, and he'll just kind of take the wrong dribble. He'll take the wrong route. He'll take the wrong Alvin's in my brain. He'll take the wrong route to the hoop. And they even kind of they showed on the broadcast, like, Jontay Porter running the lanes correctly and stuff. So I feel like with Jontay Porter, it's more of a higher basketball IQ play than a McDaniels. Who low-key McDaniels is, I think, taller than Precious. So it's not like him at center is crazy. He is one of those people that just, like, I guess doesn't look as tall that he is. Like, when you just kind of look at him for some reason, it just doesn't feel like he's, like, taller than Precious. But so I think physicality-wise, it's not that crazy. But you're just looking at two really, really different players. Jontay Porter is more kind of like an athletic Thad that can shoot a three, and taller. So it's a great fit. And I kind of wonder if, because Darko has coached Jontay in Memphis, and like he was drafted, like he's not like a complete random. But I wonder if him kind of ascending like he has made the Precious thing a little bit easier to stomach. Not that I guess was probably that hard to stomach, but if you didn't have Jontay Porter, who is getting those minutes for you? It's really bleak. Like, it's Thad, it's McDaniels, or because, with Pirtle, it's the center position, and then with Kloko obviously being out, it's another huge part of it. So, but that's kind of how sports works. Like, that's just kind of the way it goes. Like, you're someone like Jontay Porter who all of a sudden, kind of out of nowhere, is in this great position that he probably didn't think was going to happen. Or all of a sudden, not only is he like on this team now, a team that already needed him, but now you're trading Precious, and Koloko's injured or out with an illness. So kind of the perfect situation for him. And you look at like Grady, and it's the opposite, and that's just how sports is. You look at Grady, already not able to get into the rotation, and now, hey, we got two more guards we just brought in. So, kind of the opposite tracks, but that's just how like every sport works. And yeah, did Malachi play tonight? How did Malachi do on the Knicks? I know Precious was getting some Knicks fans riled up, and I don't even think it was, he was 2 for 2 from the field with no turnovers, so there wasn't like it's just like an appetizer for what could be happening. But that's pretty much all I got. I'm probably just gonna eat the rest of the time to get to an hour for the aesthetics. Try to keep some consistency for the formatting. Any last words for the PW7991 says McDaniels is the new Precious. That's not bad. There's I think you can make, I like that actually. Not that I really, actually comparing players on the same team is okay, I think. It's just when people compare like, yeah, or like ranking and stuff, that just gets me bored. But yeah, comparing, yeah, I think like spiritually they're kind of similar. They're kind of bigger. Well, they're bigger guys who can handle ish. I mean, I still think Precious had, like, as bad as it was sometimes. I mean, the Raptors are so in general like not great at handling, or at least they used to be. He was like one of the better handlers on the team, which is really sad. But yeah, they're both kind of guys who like get the ball out on the perimeter, and then are kind of like, all right, I'm either gonna maybe shoot a three, or I'm gonna get downhill. But they both kind of, there was always that talk with Precious of like, does he know that he's a center and not a wing? And it's like, I don't think so. I think he kind of sees himself as having a little bit of that Jason Tatum in him. And I think McDaniels can kind of get into that mode too, of like doing too much, kind of quote unquote not knowing his role, And it is a similar type of thing where, like, outside from that Boston game, which continues to just be kind of really random. I mean, even in that game, he did make some mistakes too, but um, it seems like he's a guy that more so relies on like athleticism and perceived upside versus good decisions, quick decisions. And yeah, I mean, in general, I mean, there's no way around it. He's been definitely a disappointment. I think that people in Philly were, like, right, Stricky Sanchez, like they really liked him, and people in Philly were kind of pissed. And yeah, he just has not just he doesn't, like, he looks like a G League guy. And with now, like, Jontay Porter didn't blow you out of the water in the first game. I don't think he had any points, but like I said in the post game, like, I just thought that he was in the right place at the right time and did the right thing. And on a team like this, you really value that. And now I think with this game, especially the second half, I really enjoyed watching him. Like, I enjoy watching players like that. It's like I enjoy watching Sabonis. Jokic is the ultimate. Um, but just players that you can tell just like read the game well, and he really does that. Like, he, outside of that one turnover on his first touch of the ball, um, just kind of flawless in. I mean, getting bullied by Sabonis, yes, but kind of flawless in terms of where to be, what to do, the right play, and it's just like an underrated skill, and really is the antithesis of a McDaniels. And on a team that already has all these wings and forwards, and even in the G League, you've got Justice Winslow, you've got Kevin O'Banner, who's looked good. So I think we're kind of at that point, you know. I think it might be time to start a conversation where I think he's going to get squeezed out of the lineup. I think that Jontay Porter is going to get those minutes. Like, Jontay Porter easily could have got those minutes tonight. So McDaniels played 7 minutes tonight. Jontay Porter played 13. Easily could give Jontay Porter 20 minutes in this game. Easily. So, I mean, you did play Boucher 28. I don't know if you're going to do that every game, but yeah, I think I'd be surprised if McDaniels doesn't kind of get to feel what Saga feels like in the nighttime. And maybe they'll bring up some guys from the 905, just try to see, keep rotating. I think with McDaniels, I'm not saying you're out on him forever. I mean, you still keep him in your organization, but I think at this point, I mean, just me personally, I think we kind of see what he is and what he's about, and it just hasn't, like, A, it just hasn't been good, and B, it's just not really what the team needs. Like, the team doesn't need another. I think they're trying to get away from that type of, like, the Precious kind of archetype. Like, I think they're so yeah, it's just I feel like it's just hard to justify giving him minutes when he just doesn't, like, what does he do? Like, in theory, he was a good 3-point shooter, but I think he's shooting like 24% from three or something. I mean, his defense is like, seems to be like not horrible, but again, it's like, what is the thing that you're bringing him in to do other than just kind of eat minutes? And I think they're probably going to get to that point where it's like, it's time to give some rum. But I'm gonna go eat that pizza. I'm gonna have more pizza tonight. I'm not gonna starve myself. Jason Poo says best pizza place in Vancouver. Good question. Vancouver's infamous for not having good pizza. I really like Lapache. Lapache. It's Lapache. It's on 5th and Commercial. That's where I order from. Get the margarita. Um, oh, there is. Oh no, the best place is on. Fuck, what's it called? Let me look it up. It's on Victoria. It's right around the corner. It's on Victoria Drive. Um, by the way, I think that's it for the game. In terms of, I'm gonna look up the best pizza place in Vancouver. It's on Victoria. It's like Victoria and 3rd, and it's a stone oven. I like the stone oven. Just looking at the map of Vancouver right now. Victoria and the Milk Bar. It's not the Milk Bar. Via Tavere. Via Tavere. Via Tavere Pizzeria. I think that's what it is. Yeah. I mean, we're talking like fat lineups. I'm looking at pictures right now. Damn. Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, they got the big ass stone oven thing. I grew up in the suburbs. Is that what it's called? The stone oven pizza. You know what I'm talking about, the fire. I'm really tired and baked and hungry, but like fire stone pizza stone oven. You know what I'm talking about, right? The pizza stone oven fire pizza stone. Somebody tell me what am I trying to look? What's the word am I trying to look for? Pizzas, yeah, baby. Pizza. Fire. They didn't. You know what I'm talking about with the big. There's like a literal fire, and they cook the pizza in it. Pizza something. But they didn't. I grew up more in the sub. I grew up in like the Whitby of Vancouver, so we didn't have any places that had the fire stone oven. So it was all the soggy pizza, the greasy soggy pizza is what I grew up with, like the thick, soggy, saucy, cheesy pizza, which now I'm not really into. I like the stone oven, which is much more of a thing in East Van. So, but yeah, I always go to that place on Commercial. And there's another place I go to on Commercial, actually. There's a million pizza places on Commercial Drive, though. But it's this little tiny ass. I used to go to, I think they closed, but it was called Romano's Pizza on Granville Street. And you like kind of buy the slice, and they used to have a potato pizza. And you just go in and just like so many hot sauces, and there's a really greasy place I want to shout out in Victoria called Second Slice, which is like not good, but it's just so many memories of just being high as shit in college and going there. So shouts to Second Slice in Victoria, BC. If anybody's ever hit the Second Slice. Wood oven, that's what I'm looking for. Wood oven, says Lumpy Rex. How's Bali in Thailand? Yes, wood oven. We're talking about fire oven, stone oven. Yeah, we didn't have wood ovens. You could not get a wood oven pizza in the suburbs. You were restricted to... I worked at a pizza place once. I worked at a place called Goldie's Pizza in Vancouver. It was on Pender Street. And there was a comedy... It was like half pizza place, half comedy, which is like very unique for Vancouver. Like, I gotta tell you, Vancouver often branded as the no fun city for kind of good reason. I'm even surprised it passed like the health codes because you would order pizza from like upstairs, and then you would go down into the basement for the comedy, and you would hold the pizza like walking down the stairs. And I actually did an open mic set there once, and I bombed. But I worked as a dishwasher there as well. Goldie's Pizza. Are they? I think they have really good pizza, by the way. That's another really good place, Goldie's Pizza. I don't know if they closed though. I think that location did, but I think they have another. I think they're open again. They're on Hastings now. Okay. Only 4.1 stars. Maybe I'm tripping. Maybe it wasn't that good. Maybe it was more the comedy, but it would be open until like 3-4 in the morning, which is also really rare for Vancouver. And they would get like the nightclub crowd. And then the comedy would go late too. And I used to work night shifts there once in a while. That's the job I had before I went across the street and became an oyster shucker at Black and Blue. which is I think they opened a Toronto one. I think I saw Blog TO um, write a thing about Toronto Black and Blue. Yeah, King Street, Toronto. 4.3 stars. Oh, it looks the exact same as the Vancouver one. Yeah, it was the oyster shucker there. It's like $400 shots of rum, $10,000 bottles of wine. You know, fucking Dragon's Den coming in. I got lots of stories from the oyster shucking era, but I'm losing juice. Okay. The Toronto Raptors lose to the Sacramento Kings 130. Yeah, baby.